Hello, everybody. Once again, I'm Liam Crafton Jr., aka Zorvach on Less Than Guru, and today I'm going to talk about the Gladiator. Now, the Gladiator is one that I was really trying to determine. Same thing with the Paladin. Is the Gladiator an entertainer, or are they of men of arms? Is the Paladin? Because I did switch over and combine the Holy Crusader from Yinslav Jungle and Paladin to be a clergy Paladin, so it wasn't just a slightly better knight. Determine, are these men of arms or are they in the other category? And I determined they would be in the other category, that the men of arms, they would be the best at just being a man of arms. The other ones could get close and maybe in certain circumstances be equivalent or slightly better in those circumstances, but they would have some type of drawback. So when we look at the Gladiator, we'll see how I did it with the entertainer category. So the gladiators are entertainers of arena fighting. So that's why they're entertainers. They can fight and often to the death, or in some cases to the death fight, but their primary purpose is to entertain a crowd. Unless they go off on adventures, which you would in a game probably. Otherwise, that's their occupation, is to entertain people by fighting, and whether that's other people that they're fighting or wild animals or mystical beasts can be something that you determine in your own game. But the gladiator is an entertainer, and that's what I figured was the core. So attribute requirements are the same. The gladiator was in the Adventures of the High Seas, and their alignment, they can be any. You can be a gladiator for any reason. Physical conditioning is +8. So I did give them the +8 of a man of arms because they are fighters. That is one of the things. Especially in the life and death situations, they're trained to win. So they are going to have that full physical conditioning. Armor tier, though, armor tier is 2. They're not meant to be in the full metal armors. So they might be able to do the half suits or just the leather, the reinforced leathers and stuff. So they're more trained in the light armor that I have. So that is the tier 2. Um, I do have restrictions, selfish or evil. I have alignments. So I'm going to have to do that. I'll have to think. Maybe selfish and evil, you probably wouldn't be I kill people or wound them for sport as a good alignment. So every once in a while, I catch an error. That happens even in official published things. So they get their hand-to-hand gladiator, and that's something I really liked about Palladium, was all the men of arms have their different hand-to-hand styles. So I brought that open, and then they get different types of weapon proficiencies, what they like to do in the arena. So level chart. Level 1 is you get your elective, your base elective and secondary. At level 2 is when they get a couple more secondary. Level 3, they get an ability called light fighting that we'll get into. Then they get +2 additional shock points. They are more men of arms, or at least partial men of arms. So instead of the +1s that a lot of the rogues and other entertainers get, they're going to get the full 2 points. And I think even some of the men of arms had 3, so they get a solid 2. 5, they get an advantage strike. Level 6, they get an additional 2 hit points. They get waiting strike at 7. 8 and 9 are where they get additional skills, like in normal Palladium. At 10, they get additional shock points. 11 and 12 is where they get a couple more elective and secondary skills, additional hit points at 13, elective skills at 14, and hit points and shock points at 15. Because again, they are fighters as well as being entertainers. So that's a good range of entertainment and fighting abilities that they can get. Elective skills, secondary skills, just like in Palladium. Elective skills, these are what you can get. Secondary skills, you can get everything or anything on the list. These are the ones that give you bonuses. So let's look at abilities. Double parry. It wasn't listed here. That means that they get it automatically. So if it doesn't have a level afterward, it's just something that they get at first level. And this is to replace the automatic parry that I have men of arms. And that's the benefit of being a man of arms. A man of arms, you can get an automatic parry, means if a weapon or if you're being attacked and you are able to parry it, then you can do it for free. It doesn't cost an action. And then if you fail, you can dodge for an action. So you can twice try to avoid the blow with only spending one action. So the Gladiator is not a men of arms, so they do not get an automatic parry. But in these cases, I tend to give them something that fits that role, not as good, but it is something. So the double parry is if a gladiator is using two weapons, so you have your paired weapons, and fails to parry with one weapon, you may immediately try to parry the same blow with another weapon without spending an action. So if double parry is used, the gladiator cannot spend an action to dodge. So you can't parry and then dodge. What you can do is you can attempt to parry. It's going to cost an action. And then if you fail at parry, you can attempt to do another dodge that's not going to take an action. The double parry is not an automatic parry, it's not an auto parry, and requires an action unless against a designated foe of light fighting. What is light fighting? So light fighting is when a hand-to-hand, in the hand-to-hand stance, so only in the hand-to-hand stance, fighting in light armor or half suits, so they're trained as a tier 2, and having actions left. So if you're out of actions, you don't get to do this. You can auto parry against one foe. This increases to 2 foes at level 6, 3 foes at level 9, and up to 4 foes at level 12. Ends with 5 foes at level 15. So gaining this at 3rd level allows you to get that automatic parry against a certain number of foes. So whereas men of arms can do it as many foes as they want, normally it's because they're in a big battlefield having things from all directions come at them. Gladiator is more contained fighting. A lot of times it's one-on-one. As you increase in your gladiator levels, then you can go and broaden your number of opponents to get that auto parry. And then you can combine that with your double parry. And instead of dodging, you can spend that action to parry, or you auto parry, and then you get to try to parry again without spending an action. So the gladiator chooses the foe at the start of each round and cannot change them until the next round. So I did want to point that out. That is an important thing. So at the beginning of the round, these are my designated targets. These are the ones that I am going to be able to auto parry against. Again, gladiator combat is a contained area. You're only dealing with those targets. You, after being in that occupation so long, you probably aren't looking up at the crowds, except for when you're bowing afterwards and getting their adoration. And then let's move on to 5th level. They get the advantage strike. The gladiator can do a simultaneous strike without it taking an action. This can be used with double parry and light fighting. That is pretty big. Simultaneous strikes I have is taking an action. This allows you to not use those actions. You can get those hits in, and that's one of the bad things about light fighting is once you're out of actions, you can no longer get that automatic parry, and then you couldn't double parry because you at least need to have an action to parry. So this advantage strike allows you to attack every time you're attacked, and then you can save your attacks for those parries or make sure that you have those. And then that's going to go on to waiting strike is you can choose lower your initiative by 1 point per level. So at this, you're getting it at 7th level. So up to 7, You can lower your turn so that way you're waiting for them to attack you. You simultaneously strike, and your actions are going to tick off later. So you don't use them before others. You want others to use theirs so you can simultaneously strike. You can get your auto parry. You can do that for free, basically, get those simultaneous attacks and everything. So that's just a really good combination. And that's kind of how I had the Gladiator flow in their combat style. It's not the same of Men of Arms, which just get a flat automatic parry, but it builds up and makes it an interesting class that isn't just a, oh, I'm an entertainer, plus I get everything that this other group of characters gets. So once again, I'm Liam Crackman Jr., aka Zorwatch on Less Than Gear, and until next time, I will catch you later.